The last time I tried to do a an organic search through AI, but it was using memory. So what I did was I actually pulled it up on another browser without logging in, and it worked out until I just now tested it. I guess they give you one or two shots, and then they want you to create an account. So I created an account, haven't used it yet. So the bottom line, we're going to see organically. I'm going to show you guys so that you can see there's no, you're getting what you see, no manipulation at all, seeing exactly what I ask it. This could take a while. I don't know. I mean, I haven't. Every time you do a search, you're going to get potentially slightly different answer. Okay. So even when I ask who predicted the financial crisis, I could get a variation on that. So what should we start out with first? We start out with the Chat GPT or Meta AI. Which one? Let's try Meta. So I'm not quite sure what to expect here. I haven't messed with this at all. So we'll see. They may not even allow me to ask more than a couple of questions. So they want your birth date because they want your demographics so they can size you up for advertisements. You see that? Okay. Who predicted the 2008 financial crisis? Let's see who they come up with here. Of course, they're going to go through a search. The most people they find, the most coverage in the media. So you can see Noel Rubini. Basically, this guy's a con man. Um, Irrefutable. Ann Pettifor, don't know who that is. Um, Dean Baker, absolutely not. Raghuram Rajan, Peter Schiff, Steve Keen, Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio. So let's see. Oh, George Soros and George Soros. I mean, that's the first time I've seen that one. So we're going to go through this, and I already know the song and dance. Now, Noel Rubini didn't predict jack shit. He gave a speech in front of his cabal guys at the IMF, just a blabber. He's a broken clock. Broken clocks are incapable. It's impossible for them to be credited with predicting anything. Okay? So by being labeled as broken clock, he's out. He's excluded already. But aside from that, even if you look at the specific things he talked about, it's just not comprehensive. It's not detailed at all. And to understand that, you have to really look at my forecasts. Remember, I specifically forecast many things that nobody dared forecast, and I was accurate. My accuracy rate was close to 100% on the forecast. My forecast for the number of foreclosures, forecast for the peak to trough residential real estate price decline, my forecast for the sell-off in the Dow, the bottom, right? My recommendations not only short the subprimes, which I claim is the easy call, but also the major banks, Fannie and Freddie. Nobody else did that in the world. Plus my broad-based, diverse, actionable recommendations besides the direct, more obvious investments of shorting or betting against the banks and the subprimes and Fannie and Freddie. And of course, I also discussed buying puts, which is a safer way. But the more diverse portfolio of investments, which nobody else did, I also recommended gold and silver, but I focused on the ETFs to avoid the high commissions and also to have liquidity, to have an exit strategy, as well as the pharmaceutical drugs, the travel and leisure, the cruise ships, telemedicine. All those things did extremely well. Okay. So, so let's take a look. Uh, Dean Baker wrote some article, and in 2000, I think 2001, 2002, just talked about a real estate bubble. That's it. If you're going to be credited with having predicted one of the most severe, significant, broad reaching, devastating events in history, and certainly one of the most significant, far reaching economic events in history, the 2008 financial crisis, you need to come up with a lot of detail. It was a very complicated event. You need to come up with forecasts, a thesis, a lot of analysis. You understand? You can't just come out and say, well, the real estate bubble, it's going to collapse and it's going to be a problem. Okay? Any fucking idiot can do that. Okay? And of course, this is why these same people have been saying the same thing every year since that time. You'll notice I haven't come out with another book predicting a collapse, have I? Right? And that's because that book I wrote 20 years ago, which was banned, is still relevant today. It's still more relevant than any book that's ever been written before the crisis and since the crisis. You write that the fuck down. I'll guarantee you. I don't need to see what's out there. I know what I know, and I know what the competition knows. Nobody has, or even has today, the insights that I have. The comprehensive insights to connect the first person in the world to link free trade with America's wealth and income disparity, with the accessibility of health care, right? Some of you probably still don't even know what I'm talking about. But anyway, so what we're going to do here, so the problem is that when you challenge just this issue here, without even going much further, we have to already challenge and ask, what were the specific things that Rubini came out with? What's the evidence? So we've done that before with other analyses, but we'll just go ahead and do it here. I don't know how far Meta will allow us. They may stop us. May not get far, but we'll go ahead and there you go. So we're asking it to state the specific evidence. Now notice here that you don't have the typical Michael Burry, right? Right? You do have, though, George Soros and John Paulson. These are the fund managers. You don't have Burry, though. That's kind of strange, by the way. So anyway, so here you go. Here's the specific evidence according to Meta AI. And it's not, so the problem with this is this is an interpretation. It doesn't give quotes. It gives a partial quote. So anyway, 2006, Rubini warned of a looming credit and housing bubble crisis in the U.S., predicting a deep recession that would reverberate globally. His paper, The Rising Risk of a Systemic Financial Meltdown, The 12 Steps to Financial Disaster. Does this look like a serious academic paper or a marketing pitch, right? So, did he talk about the mortgage-backed securities? Did he talk about derivatives? No. Did he talk about the GSEs collapsing? No. Did he talk about fraud? No. Did he give actionable investment recommendations? No. No. Okay? You can take a look for yourself. And we'll ask Meta that question specifically here in a second. So, Ann Pettifor, the coming first world debt crisis. Sorry, Ann, that's not what caused the financial crisis. It wasn't because their debt was too high. No, sorry, you got it wrong. So, she's disqualified. Okay. Dean Baker, he just basically wrote a paper that's saying, hey, you know, we're experiencing a real estate bubble that's going to collapse. It's going to pop. That's not a big deal. That's not predicting the crisis, folks. Real estate bubbles are typical. They're almost predictable. They come every 20 to 30 years. It's a normal part of the economic cycle. Okay? So, obviously, if real estate prices are rising and there is some evidence that we might be in a bubble, for you to come out and say there's a bubble, do you think that's sufficient? Do you think that's credible? When we're talking about the largest real estate bubble in U.S. history, which is essentially what I discussed, largest bubble in at least 80 years. Okay? You need to qualify and quantify that bubble. You need to come out with a forecast. I mean, Dean Baker, just like all these other people, I guess these are all economists, PhD economists, except for, let's see, Peter Schiff. They're all PhD economists, I believe. So don't you think they're in the business? They should be first and foremost the ones to come out with specific data predictions. They have all the data, right? They're the data guys. They didn't do that, did they? No, they didn't. So Dean Baker's this claim is probably the weakest of all. All these claims are so weak. Like Ann Pettifor, Dean Baker, Peter Schiff are certainly at the very bottom. They didn't predict it, not even close. No way, shape, or form. That's just, I mean, if that's all it takes to qualify as predicting the financial crisis, Jesus Christ, I predicted fucking everything. Okay? And so this guy is promoted because he was the chief economist at the IMF. But let's recall something. The IMF missed it. They didn't have a fucking clue what was going on. Okay? So he questioned, quote, worrisome actions of banks and warned about the risks of complicated instruments like credit default swaps and mortgage-backed securities. So, folks, anybody can warn. Oh, I'm warning about. Oh, you happen to have warned it this time, and it happened, right? Let's take a look and see when else he warned about things, and let's talk about specifics. Sorry, you're disqualified. You didn't predict nothing. Okay, warning is not a prediction. Open-ended warning is not a prediction. Steve Keen warned about exponential rise in private debt. And by the way, Steve Keen has been he's been predicting a blow up in the Australian housing market now, I think almost every year for like the past 15 years. He's clearly gotten that wrong. So you could say he's a broken clock. And he got it wrong as well. He's talking about a problem with private debt. Now, Steve, that's not correct. The problem was with mortgage debt, which was leveraged, right? Which was fraudulently securitized into investment grade securities, which I wrote about, and then it was leveraged. It was leveraged through derivatives. You see, it wasn't just private debt. Anyone that talks about debt didn't cause it. Okay? So sorry, Steve, you're wrong. Peter Schiff obviously didn't predict anything. Okay? So we're going to get to more details here. So none of these guys predicted it. Let's see who else we got here. We've got, well, okay. So they did. So there's no. So they don't mention Soros and Paulson because they didn't have anything. There's nothing on them. Okay, and you all know John Paulson, what he did. John Paulson committed fraud and he got away with it because he's in the right tribe. He went to Goldman Sachs and said, "Hey, here's a bunch of junk mortgages that have been securitized. Let's put them in a fund, sell them to your customers as investments, and we're going to short them." That's exactly what happened. Goldman Sachs got away with this fraud up until there became to be a increasing level of scrutiny against Obama, because there was no one was being investigated, no one was being prosecuted, no one was being fined. And so what happened is that people started saying, "Oh, look at Obama, look who funded Obama." Goldman Sachs, I believe, was the number one campaign contributor to the Obama administration. So there was pressure to go after and fine Goldman Sachs for this fraud. That's all. So they fined Goldman Sachs, and guess what? John Paulson, nothing happened to him. He didn't get fined by the SEC, nothing. Didn't go to jail, nothing. In fact, his friends in the media made him out to be a genius. Folks, this is all 100% fucking fact. Why aren't you hearing about this? You understand how the cabal works? They're all geniuses, and they never go to fucking jail. Unless they're a sacrificial Q. I'll say Q. They're a sacrificial Q. They sacrifice themselves to save more of their own from prison. You understand? They don't go to jail. They defraud everyone, and they're geniuses. Oh, it wasn't fraud. Oh, they're geniuses. Oh, they made a great trade. This is all fact. Nobody can refute the facts. Okay? Analyze the accuracy of specific investment recommendations by these individuals prior to the crisis. So most of them didn't have anything. Wow, I don't know how I popped up there. That's weird. I'm not my look at that. You see that? My name wasn't even on this list. So this is weird. I've never seen this before. This is bizarre. So you see what happened here? You all seeing this live. So I asked who predicted the financial crisis. It doesn't have my name on here at all. Okay? And then I asked for evidence. Doesn't have my name. And then I asked for specific investment recommendations. And then it has me, Michael Burry, Dean Baker, Peter Schiff. So it has me on this list. This is not, I don't have an account for this. I've never used this, so I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, we'll go over each of these. So it doesn't have enough of, it only has a part of it has 95% accuracy. Correctly forecast the housing market collapse, 10.7 million foreclosures, Dow plummeting to 65.47, 700 billion. So this was all accurate, almost exact. Okay. Provided actionable and profitable trades, including shorts, puts on Novastar, Fannie Mae. They're only showing one. I have like about 4 or 5 subprimes. It's only showing one, but anyway, Fannie doesn't say Freddie, so it's leaving out a lot. But anyway, WAMU, GM, GE with returns ranging from 5 to 15 times. Okay, timing made public predictions in 2006 before the crisis onset. Michael Burry. Accuracy 70%. So here's the thing. Michael Burry did not make any recommendations. He made bets for himself. Everything was private. See that? And it was confined to the subprimes, which once again, that's the low hanging fruit. Okay. Dean Baker, 50% accuracy. So let's see. Predicted a housing bubble but underestimated its impact and missed the derivatives and fraud aspects. That's just what I said. Investment recommendations, none. So he doesn't qualify at all. Peter Schiff, accuracy 60%. Predicted recession in housing. Peter Schiff didn't predict nothing. He's a broken clock. He's been making the same fucking... He's still making the same predictions today, by the way. Okay. Recommended gold and foreign stocks, but clients underperformed the S&P. Timing. Made public predictions in 2006, but they were vague and lacked actionable strategies. Robini, 75%. No specifics. No investment recommendations. So here you have other predictions. So Kyle Bass, who I worked with at Bear Stearns in Dallas, he bet on the subprimes, bet against the subprimes. Didn't predict anything, but bet against it. And you see John Paulson here. And this is what I talked about earlier with Goldman, his fucking fraudulent. I mean, I look into this, folks. Look into it for yourself. And then they have Schiller. I don't know why they put Schiller here. Schiller missed this completely. List more of Stathis's crisis predictions. and investment recommendations with accuracy rate. So it's important to show my stuff because once you see, I mean, I'm what everything is measured against, right? I'm the standard. My predictions, my analysis of the 2008 financial crisis is the standard by which all others should be measured against because I'm the most accurate, the most detailed, the most comprehensive. That's fact. If you don't agree with that, once again, you can win $1 million. You can win $1 million. You can bet 500,000 and win a million. I'm giving you 2 to 1 odds. And if you don't have the money, you can bet less, as low as 50 grand, but you don't get 2 to 1 odds. Okay? Nobody in world history has ever backed their claims with money like this. Right? What does that tell you? Okay? No one's gonna try. No one's gonna front any money because they know. Well, here you go right here. So you can see, so Mike Stads' predictions and investment recommendations have shown a remarkable accuracy. Here are some notable examples. Predicted the Dow Jones would collapse to 6,500 in his book. The Dow Jones indeed bottomed out at around 6,547. I mean, think about that. 2.5 years before, when the market is just below its peak, I'm telling you my forecast where I think this thing could collapse to. How in the fuck did I get so close? Now, was it luck? Well, I wrote about it at least twice. Once in 2008, in 2009, and on the exact day, I wrote an article for which the entire world could have read and acted on. It was public information, and I told people for the first time to start buying. I didn't tell them to start buying when the Dow went to 10,000 or 9,000 or 8,000 or 7,000. I told them to start buying when the Dow hit 6,547 for the first time. You understand the significance of that? And I'm banned. Folks, show everybody. Contact everybody. And then you're going to find out who the cowards and liars and frauds are. Everyone in the media, all these so-called experts, go to all of them. Okay? And see what they have to say. And ask them why they were promoted. They didn't do shit. Because they're related to their friends in the media. It's discrimination and it's fraud. This is what goes on. And it cost me close to $1 billion in lost income, according to artificial intelligence analysis. I believe it cost me much more than that for many reasons. More important, it cost Main Street. It cost you guys. It cost millions upon millions, tens, maybe even hundreds of millions of people around the world. It cost them their jobs, their homes, their retirement. If they had been patched into me, if I had been featured, allowed to express my forecasts, my warnings, how many people could have been saved? You see, but if I save the public, Wall Street can't fuck you. They can't take your money. Do you understand how it works? Okay. Remember, I wasn't pitching a firm. I wasn't trying to sell nothing. You understand? I had no conflicting interests, no agendas. I wasn't trying to pitch something for my own interest, like Peter Schiff was just pitching gold and foreign bullshit because that's what he sells. You understand? They don't want someone who's really credible. They'll pick a numbskull who's not credible, who people laugh at, deservedly so, because he's a broken clock, Peter Schiff, and all these other guys. They don't want someone credible to help Main Street. And if they're going to get somebody, he's not going to have a last name like mine. He's going to have a last name like Peter Schiff or Ben Stein or Jim Cramer or Norel Rubini or Robert Schiller or Steve Keen. You got it? Okay. I mean, folks, this is the story that needs to be fucking told. This is the story even 20 years later, that needs to be told, because it completely devastates all the narratives out there, all the ideas that people think that all these people that they trust are legit, and they're not. All these guys that control the discourse, that are interviewing all these guys that have been positioned as patriots and they're truth tellers, they're all frauds. I'm telling you, all of them. There's a good reason why I was banned from day one and remain banned. Okay? I threaten to hurt the pocketbooks of the crooks in charge. That's the reality. If they're getting exposure, they're not on your side. They're there to fuck you. You think they're on your side, but they're not. And so you can see here. So this is interesting. So I guess they're going on my website, and you can see this is some of the research. Okay. Yeah, this is interesting. Yeah. So if they're going to go, I mean, there's a lot more that I covered, but anyway, it's interesting. So let's ask. The meta does not seem to be as, I don't know. It's a little more. It's a little kind of arbitrary, a little bit. I think you can follow the course of the logic of the other AI assistants. So I mean, once again, all these AI assistants, they're all in beta testing. They're all going to continue to evolve. But this is kind of my first take at the meta, and it just doesn't seem to be. It seems to be kind of arbitrary. It's not specific on where it's getting the information. Doesn't show references, so on and so forth. So anyway, let's ask it this question. Let's see what it says. So who is the most accurate, detailed, and comprehensive predictor of the crisis? Let's see if they come up with me, which they should. There you go. Take a look at that. So it's challenging, but he puts me first. So one thing I've noticed is that these AI assistants, they really don't want to definitively say this person is the best or this person truly did this, because there's a lot of subjectivity there. But if you keep pressing them, they'll do it. So here it's kind of a politically correct answer. They don't want to kind of order people, rank them, right? But you'll see I'm put first here. So you can see, while it's difficult to pinpoint the single most accurate predictor, Mike Stathis' forecasts and investment recommendations appear to have been remarkably precise, with reported 95% accuracy rate. However, the complexity of the crisis and subjective nature of prediction accuracy make it essential to consider multiple perspectives when evaluating the claims. Yeah, I mean that's a fair disclaimer, but the evidence is clear. It didn't put all the evidence out there. We've already seen that in Chat GPT and Grok 3. But so, yeah, I mean, it came to the final conclusion. So you all saw exactly what happened. Let's go to Chat GPT now. Okay, there's no library. Okay, so this is not. This is a new account. Okay, I just want to make sure, because I thought I signed in with a different one. So yeah, this is a brand new account. So let's ask Chat GPT now. So I'm not going to show up here, I don't think. I'd be surprised. if I did show up, because there's no memory here, right? So I haven't entered in information, and I'm essentially, I'm nowhere to be found. I'm banned, so I'd have to enter in information. If I press it, then it will probably mention me. So you can see right there. So most of the same individuals, right? Rubini, it's a joke. Burry, no, he made a bet. Eisman made a bet, and they even include Whitney here. Complete joke. Schiff, joke. Rajan, no, sorry. Baker, joke. So you can see these individuals stood out for either accurately diagnosing the risk in subprime lending and financial derivatives, or for calling attention to systemic flaws in housing and credit matters markets. Okay, so let's see. What about Mike Stathis? So I think how it works is that once I challenge it, so they're going to go by what gets the most hits online, right? So it can find maybe a tiny bit about me. So once I specifically ask about me, I think they will find something and they will begin to report it. But let's see. Mike Stathis is a lesser known but vocal figure who has claimed, so he claimed. So we're going to have to educate it here to have accurately predicted. So you see, so it doesn't even validate it. So in other words, it didn't even go to the archive.org sites to find the information, and it didn't even go to my website. I have the PDF excerpts there. So why he's not more? We're gonna challenge it here. I'm gonna feed it the information here in a second. Why he's not more widely known. Media presence. Unlike Rubini or Schiff, Stathis wasn't regularly featured. I wasn't featured at all. I was banned in major financial media. Controversial tone. So his critiques of Wall Street, government institutions, and even other financial commentators were often strongly worded, which may have limited his mainstream appeal. This is only partially correct. So I critiqued Wall Street, obviously, exposed Wall Street, government institutions in the book. Now, I didn't make any comments about financial commentators. I didn't expose con artists out there, the broken clock guys, until later on, until after I was banned, until after the crisis, you see. So this is not accurate. I was banned before all this, okay? Independent platform. Most of his work is published through his own company or self-published materials, making it harder to gain traction. That's not true. The media promotes people that have their own platform all the time. And it was independent platform because I was banned. Even from websites. Shadow banned. Didn't have freedom of speech. So you can see. Yes, Mike Stathis did warn about the 2008 financial crisis. However, due to a combination of low media visibility and outsiders. Yeah, I'm an outsider. Fucking and perhaps confrontational communication style, he remains a largely unrecognized figure. Okay, so let's help ChatGPT recognize me. So please check Stathis' pre-crisis book excerpts and reassess his status. Here's the 1617. Okay. And that chapter 12, cashing in on the real estate bubble. I'll go ahead and add the WAMU complaint. It was October 2008. Just go ahead and add that anyway. Not a big deal, but so let's see what ChatGPT has to say. So so it's important to go over this so you can understand the process by which it analyzes things and makes conclusions. You see, so you can just read this for yourself. Housing bubble warning, Chapter 10. Stathis identifies U.S. housing market as a dangerous bubble driven by irrational lending, consumer speculation, and flawed government policy, economic chain reaction. He explicitly predicts that the housing crash will trigger a massive banking crisis. See that? Nobody else did that, by the way. Nobody. Nobody else put that in print. Anybody can ramble anything they want. I put it in print and I fucking backed it up. I showed it. A stock market crash and a deep recession. This is well beyond what most contemporaries forecast. Now, it's well beyond what all contemporaries forecast. Wealth gap and policy failure. He accurately connects the growing wealth disparity, Wall Street's now, keep in mind, I didn't enter the wealth and income disparity material into this. I could, but I didn't do it here. But it's a theme kind of throughout the book somewhat. He accurately connects the growing wealth disparity, Wall Street's misaligned incentives, and flawed government regulation as systemic risks. Investment strategy provides practical advice on avoiding financial losses, hedging against the collapse, and diversifying investments, proving this was more than theoretical analysis. Cashing in on the Real Estate Bubble, Chapter 12, focuses on the mechanics of subprime lending, real estate speculation, and the false sense of wealth it created. Predicts massive foreclosures, bankruptcies, and destruction of wealth across the middle class. Includes investor guidance, not just general warnings, another sign he was ahead of the curve. SEC complaint against Washington Mutual. This shows that Stathis was active not just in publishing, but also in attempting to alert regulators. It adds credibility to his position as an early and responsible whistleblower figure type. So you can see comparison with others who predicted the crisis, and I contend they didn't fucking predict it at all. Okay, they're not in my universe, but you can see I'm the only person that gets a yes for all of these criteria here. Okay. Why he's still not widely known. No major media backing. There you go. Okay? There you go. Anti-establishment stance. Okay. Self-publishing. I'm forced to do that. Refuse to join echo chambers. That's correct. That's actually some pretty good fucking insight there. I don't join fucking echo chambers. See, most people, just about everybody joins an echo chamber to get promoted. You understand that, right? I've mentioned in the past, all these con artists, Nomi Prinz, so on and so forth, they join these fucking echo chambers, these gold pumping echo chambers, so they'll get promoted. So they'll get interviewed and they can promote their books. So they're going to basically bow down to any type of narrative so they can be a talking head. And that's just fucking dishonest as hell. Can you trust a person that does that, right? Based on primary source evidence, Stathis was one of the most, no, I was the, but anyway, we'll read it, was one of the most accurate and comprehensive predictors of the 2008 financial crisis. His foresight rivaled or exceeded that of more celebrated figures like Rubini, Berry, and Schiff, particularly in systemic analysis and practical financial advice. He deserves serious recognition in any objective accounting of those who predicted the crisis, not only for his presence, but also for trying to warn the public and regulators before the crash hit. Okay. So we're going to enter some more information here. These are some articles from the website, many of which were published elsewhere during 2008 and mostly 2008, maybe one or two 2009. So I'm going to enter these. Please add these articles to Stathis's track record. Okay, so it's just kind of more of the same, really. I don't think I said anything in here that I didn't say in the book. So, and you can look at these articles. They're, let me go ahead and show you. You can see the links here. my record. So these are on the website. This is a video, and I explain here why I'm the only person that predicted the crisis. Please watch that video. If you haven't, you'll understand why I say that. Okay, so this is basically kind of a summary of the book. This is where I wrote to just basically stay out of the market, and then short the financials, and then I recommended to buy March 10th, 2009 at the very bottom. So let's read what it says here. Core strengths demonstrated across the articles. Extremely early and accurate predictions. Stathis predicted a collapse in real estate, unraveling derivatives tied to housing, a meltdown in the financial sector, massive job losses, the eventual failure of Wall Street banks like Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, and Washington Mutual. Boom. The best thing you can do for your entire life is to get to know my track record and my credibility. Why would I say that? Because once you understand who I am, my credibility, and what happened to me, then you're going to start scratching your head and say, you know what? I'm being lied to by all these people that are being promoted. This is a guy, a world-class expert, probably the best investment analyst in the world. I believe that I am. Certainly the top expert in the 2008 financial crisis. I've been banned. They didn't want to publish this book. Why? Was it because I called out the mafia? No. Didn't even know about the mafia at the time. The only thing that I did was I exposed America. I exposed what's going on. I empowered not only investors who could have taken money from Wall Street if they were able to come across my books, but could have empowered voters, you see, to take their country back from Wall Street and corporate America. That's what they didn't want, you see. That's what they didn't want. So it's important to go through this material and to convince yourself. Okay, so you can see here, this is a organic analysis using AI, and it's important to use AI. I mean, if you don't use AI correctly, forget it. You're fucked. In this case, it's very important for two reasons. First of all, there's not many people out there who understand the financial crisis to the extent by which they're able to know the relevance of what happened and what people should have forecast, and whether or not what someone said was significant or how significant it was, first and foremost. You have to be kind of an expert to be in that position, which is why I'm explaining all this so that you all know. The second thing is that you have to also know that AI is only going to report what's out there on the internet. I have to enter in excerpts from my research. Why? Because I was given no exposure, so nobody knows anything about me. No one's talking about my books. No one's doing anything, you see. So by putting in the actual material, you're seeing a live analysis, because all these guys, Rubini, Schiff, so on and so forth, all their shit's out there for the AI to analyze. Critiques of their books, reviews, summaries, everything they said, right? That's all out there. They've already got their. That's why it's important to get media exposure. If you don't get media exposure, if you're banned, you have an extremely difficult, extremely challenging to create a public track record, and the media knows this. And the great thing about that is that the media airs crackpots, con artists, and contrarian indicators. You know what that means? It means because we have a track record of that, I can prove that to you. That's what I've been doing for the past 15 years. I've proven to you these guys are all con artists and contrarian indicators on my website. I got the track records. That's the only good thing about ScamTube, is you can go back and you can review the interviews and the bullshit that Peter Schiff was saying and Nouriel Roubini was saying. That's the only good thing about it, is you got that archived, the archive videos, you see. So, you know, and I'm not here, it's not about me like trying to convince you that, oh, I'm so great, this and that. Folks, I'm just now coming out hitting this hard after 20 years, okay? I sacrificed my fucking life for the people. You got to understand that, what I've been through. And I've sat here for years watching everybody steal my thunder, watching everybody deceive and distract and lie to people for money. I'm fucking fed up with it. There's nobody out there telling the fucking truth and the full truth and nothing but the full truth. Nobody but me. And you see what happened to me. You understand what I'm saying. Everybody and their fucking mother thinks there's this guy and this guy telling the truth. Oh, yeah, he's going. No, they're all frauds. You just don't see it. You don't understand it. If they're really exposing things and they have a high level of credibility, they are completely banned because they're dangerous to the establishment. Okay? That's the way it works. Anyway. So, what else? Where are we? Actionable investment advice. And stay clear of traditional asset classes. He warned investors to avoid U.S. equities and real estate while offering alternative strategies and getting ready to short the financials again and getting ready for earnings meltdown. He analyzed market cycles and set the stage for short opportunities well ahead of the market downturns. Systemic critique and more smoke from Wall Street. And you can read these articles, by the way. They're posting these articles on my site. And the articles are probably found elsewhere, like on Seeking Alpha, the Israeli boiler room that discriminated against me and shadow banned me because I'm not Israeli, basically. And more smoke from Wall Street and the blast from the past. He not only foresaw the collapse, but explained the structural corruption that would cause it, misaligned incentives, regulatory failures, and rating agency conflicts. On record timing. The timeline and content of his forecast, archived and time-stamped, demonstrate he made specific pre-crisis calls between 2006 and early 2008 with remarkable detail about timing and consequences. Media critique. Stathis was critical of both the mainstream financial media and the doom and gloom profiteers like Peter Schiff and Mark Faber, whom he accused of fear-mongering for profit. Duh. This adversarial stance likely explains why his work was ignored, even though it outperformed theirs on accuracy and substance. This is absolutely not fucking correct. I came out after Schiff, on Schiff and Faber and Jim Rogers and all these fucking clowns, more and more increasingly only after 2009. 2009, and then I began. 3 years after I was banned, after the crisis, after my fucking gusto was gone, after my opportunity was gone, after my window of opportunity, folks, was there to help you guys not get fucked. That's why I did this. People don't understand that because nobody else. Now I know nobody else would have done that. Everybody does things to make money, to empower themselves. This is why I learned a lesson in life. It's not worth it to fucking help people. You only suffer. It doesn't pay. It doesn't fucking pay. I was committed to do this. You know why? Because I remember working on Wall Street in the dot-com collapse. I remember Bear Stearns when I was there. I remember the main reason why I left Wall Street, all that fucking fraud that happened back in 2001 was exposed, in 2002 and 2003, all the accounting fraud, the analysts lying and scamming, the investment bank, all that bullshit. Nobody went to jail. Nobody. What happened? All these investors, they lost their retirement. Completely fucked. Okay? You all don't remember. The NASDAQ was down, I don't know, look it up, 70%, 80%. Okay? Nothing happened. They were fined. They were fined. And investors didn't get any money back. I was disgusted. I saw the same thing happening again on a different level. That's why I wrote that book, thinking I could help people. And that was the wrong approach. The real approach is to make an angle. Make an angle to make sure that somebody on the establishment side is gonna make money. You understand? You can't expose the crooks for the benefit of Main Street. Can't do that. You'll get fucked like I did. You can't expose the scam called free trade like I wrote about in detail. Okay? And you don't even need that book to see the excerpts, because the trade material is throughout the book, scattered throughout the book as a core theme of long-term issue in America, the trade policy, which has destroyed middle-class America, which I wrote about and I warned about that. You can find that. In fact, let me show you here. Yeah, so you can, on this other channel, you can actually, uh, you can watch this video. Let me find the video if you want to see it. This is focused mostly on the trade. Actually, this recent stream, um, if you can read the material, you can see the material from this stream. Let me find the video. Let's see. Okay, here you go. Here you go. So this video here shows the excerpts from free trade from 20 years ago. Okay, and this is the thing. Like, if you're not an expert or really high level that knows what's going on, you're not even going to appreciate that the things that I wrote about 20 years ago, very few people even knew about a couple of years ago. Nobody knew about these things. I was writing about the inability of the U.S. to even fight a war, arguably, 20 years ago because they outsourced so many things, right? So many things from the military is outsourced to different countries. I wrote about how India's commercial airline industry was built due to outsourcing. The U.S. outsourcing military airline equipment manufacturing to India. So, intellectual property transfer. I wrote about China using Mexico as a backdoor to avoid tariffs. I wrote about that in 2006. You understand? I recommended that Chinese students not be allowed to come into American universities and study science unless they were going to be, granted U.S. citizenship, because they would go back, steal that information. I wrote about the intellectual property transfer, the transfer of intellectual property. I wrote about the unfair trade, destroying the working class, middle class America through the transfer of jobs and incomes overseas. I wrote about all this stuff. You can watch this video and you can see the excerpts that I have so kindly put out there. Okay? I put these excerpts out there from the book. You can see page numbers too of things that I forecast. You can verify that looking at the book. Okay? And this is the wealth and income disparity, the illegal aliens. I even wrote about the for-profit education scam. That's what it is, which was being promoted. Now, this is why you got all these people bitching about their student loans, because they didn't go to good schools. They went to fucking for-profit schools to enroll in culinary classes to learn how to be a fucking cook for 20 grand a year. Okay? So you can see, just go through this and you'll see for yourself, okay? This is unprecedented. This analysis on trade, by the way, from this book 20 years ago, equals or surpasses the expertise in trade of the best experts in the world. And I'm talking about their lifetime work. Just this book, according to Grok analysis. I've already done that analysis, FYI. Healthcare, same thing. I did one chapter on healthcare. Okay? So that's why I'm saying this is the best investment book ever written. And I'm clearly the best investment analyst in the world. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about that. And, it's impossible to prove that one. But you can prove, even though there's still some subjectivity, you can prove who's got the best track record on the financial crisis. That's why I put up $1 million. I've been placing monetary bets, providing rewards on that since 2010. Okay, but anyway, let me get back here. Just wanted to show you that. So, so you can see. I mean, this was not manipulated. This is a Chat GPT, and I think it's still too generous for all these other people. I don't think I'm the only person that did. I mean, when you once again, you're talking about an unprecedented, historic, colossal event, very complicated, that impacted the entire globe, that caused enough damage, economic, financial damage, to put the entire globe or most of it into a recession, a depression, actually, right? Every single country in the world had a massive bailout package. In fact, does anybody know here what country had the biggest bailout package? Anybody? It was China. When you look at the percentage of GDP, China had the greatest amount. And it's interesting because it turns out that since the financial crisis, China has been fueling its growth, its fudged growth data. It's been fueling its growth on debt the entire time. FYI, in case you all didn't know that. Since about 2010. Okay? I'm also an expert in China. As those of you who know me, you all know that. Probably the top guy in the world on China. Been researching China for 25 years. Which is why, I recommended China early on. And when China bottomed late 2008, I wrote an article recommending to buy the FXI, the 8 shares, China 50 largest cap 8 shares, boom, at the very bottom. And then, of course, China's demise, I predicted that. And I'm not so sure I see China, for me, I don't know if I'll ever invest in China again. China's got major, major fucking problems. They'll recover from this period here. But the problem is that China's best days are behind them. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. The course of how things go in China is going to be largely dependent on how long Xi Jinping stays under control and who takes the reins after that. Is it going to be somebody like him, right? But there's no doubt, at the best of situations, China's best days in terms of as economic growth and their best days are behind them. There's just no doubt about that. So, because you got to understand, of course, China didn't do anything, was incapable of doing anything without the assistance of the outside world, without the assistance of the U.S., without the ability to cheat like it continues to do. And that's because it's the communist mind. The communist mind is anti-creative, right? Absolutely anti-creative, and just not, I mean, you're not going to get too far in the world if you don't allow freedom of thought, freedom of expression, creativity, critical thinking, right? You can't have those things in a communist society. And if you can't have those things, you're never going to have true innovation. So what do? Well, you do what China does. You engage in hacking, intellectual property theft, and then you copy. They can't innovate anything organically. It's impossible. The mind is not there because they're in a system of communism, which absolutely prevents creativity and all the things involved with creativity and innovation. You see, this is our Western society, our Western culture. This is what the principles of our system. This is why the West has always led the world in everything. You see, and we're not perfect, but we look pretty fucking good when you compare the West to the rest of the world. I can tell you that right now. And there's not many bigger critics of America than me. But the fact is that, in perspective, when you compare America with the rest of the world, that's when you really can appreciate America. I tell you that right now. Anyway, so take a look. Why Stathis stands out. Housing crash. Boom. Derivatives collapse. Boom. So you take a look here. Derivatives collapse. Burry didn't predict it. He bet on it. Okay? He bet on it. You see? So I'm the only one that predicted it. I'm the only one that remember I wrote about this. I recommended things for people to do and made predictions in print. I didn't hide it. You see that? I'm the only person that wrote about all this shit. Okay? Stock market crash, Robinian shift, they don't qualify. Did they give a prediction? Where's it going to go? No. No, 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 no. They're broken clocks. Okay? So, take a look. Forecasting systemic breakdown. I'm the only person. And I'm the only person that talked about a global meltdown, by the way. Okay? Global meltdown. Conclusion. Stathis arguably offered the most complete, useful, and systemic prediction of the 2008 crisis, covering economic, financial, and social fallout, along with real-time investor guidance. Please note, I haven't even included my chapters on wealth and income disparity, trade, corporate fraud, many other things. Okay? So, anybody want to take me up on my bet? Contact everybody, the media, all the talking heads, everybody. Why am I banned? Because they're all frauds, folks. They're all playing you. Just like the dummies out there that think Tucker Carlson's on their side. He's playing you fucking idiots. Okay? Just like all these people are. They're all playing you. Remove the fucking money. Remove the money from what they're saying and see what's going to happen. Okay? You understand? They're all playing you guys for fucking money. Every single fucking one of them. Would you like to help me draft a formal article, op-ed, or Wikipedia style summary for his country? Like to help you? I mean, how am I supposed to do that? I mean, why don't you do it? I mean, so. Okay, so there you go, folks. Now you've seen this. This had no memory. It's the first time I used this particular account, and I entered in the same links that you guys have access to. The only links that you don't have immediate access to are the articles, but I showed you those links, and those are on the website. They're listed in my track record. The main ones are the book excerpts. So, wow, I like this. Look, the most accurate yet overlooked forecaster of the 2008 financial crisis. There you go. Stathis did not just sound vague alarms. He provided deep economic analysis, specific predictions, and actionable investment strategies, all published before the collapse began. Okay, take a look. What he predicted and when. In his books and online writings, many of which were published in 2006 and early 2007, Stathis laid out a detailed roadmap of the coming financial catastrophe. His forecasts included a bursting of the real estate bubble and resulting homeowner bankruptcies. It's not listing the specifics here, which is unfortunate. I predicted a 30 to 35% peak to trough collapse in residential real estate prices. The actual collapse was 33%, FYI, 5 years later. It doesn't talk about that, but that's in all these other analyses. That's why I've done probably now 24 of these analyses, most of them in Grok. I will be moving forward, I will be doing more in Chat GPT. I think I've played out Grok pretty much. And also, what I noticed about Grok is you have to challenge it too much. You have to push it too much. Chat GPT is a little more natural, it seems. So the work and the effort and the length of the analysis with Grok 3 is extensive. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of length. It seems that Chat GPT, once you give it sufficient material, comes to accurate conclusions earlier. That's what it seems to me so far. So, collapse in mortgage-backed securities and other derivatives, failure of major banks, including Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, Washington Mutual, severe U.S. recession and long-term economic stagnation, stock market crash with advice to short financials and exit traditional asset classes, long-term consequences like wealth inequality, declining wages, and debt-driven stagnation. These predictions were not vague, post hoc claims. They are preserved in time-stamped archives and book chapters. Boom, motherfucking boom. And I'm banned. And all the con artists out there, the contrarian indicators, are promoted as experts. The media tells you so. Okay? It's one big clusterfuck. The media's lying scam portal. I've explained this before. And guess what? My name is not Peter Schiff or Jim Cramer or Ben Stein or Jack Goldstein. And that's why, for the most part, I get no media exposure. There's a discrimination going on in the media. You don't get to fucking play. And that same discrimination, you can see it repeating over and over again. You see it in Wall Street. I saw it on Wall Street. You see it. I mean, take a look at the Federal Reserve. Take a look at the banks. Take a look at the economists. Take a look at who controls the discourse. Take a look. Take a close fucking look. You're not allowed. They ain't going to let you in. They're going to shut you the fuck out. And that's what I've learned. Nobody can legitimately refute what I'm saying. This is my experience in the past 20 years. And I sat here and watched and analyzed and observed and taken notes and seen things. And I'm not some fucking dummy. I'm a pretty fucking sharp guy. Nobody can refute what I'm saying. I know how the fucking deal, I know how it works. And then let me tell you something, folks. I didn't see all this shit that was going on until I was forced to wake up. Something woke me up and I opened my eyes. That's why I'm opening your eyes. Open your eyes and you're going to see the same shit that I see. Once you start to open your eyes and look for stuff, you're going to be like, holy shit, I can't believe this. If you don't look for these things, you're not going to see it. You have to look. You have to have your eyes open. You have to have the JADAR activated. Why he's been overlooked. Despite the strength of his record, Stathis remains absent from mainstream discussion. Folks, I'm absent from alternative media. You understand that? I'm banned across the board. Ask yourself who else is banned across the board. Typically, if you're outside of the mainstream, you're in the alternative. The alternative wants to hear from you. Do you know why? Because once again, I don't have something to pitch. You see, typically, the people in the alternative media, they're pitching the antithesis of what the mainstream is pitching. Okay? Mainstream media, buy stocks. The market's doing great. Gold pumpers, alternative media. Oh, stock market's going to collapse. Well, the alternative media can sell gold ads and sell gold. You understand? I'm the guy that came out and recommended gold in my book, but I also said you need an exit strategy. And I also predicted the top in gold in an article I wrote called Fool's Gold. I said it's going to go to 1,500 to 2,000 and then collapse and be down for many years. It's exactly what the motherfuck happened. FYI. I also told people not to buy from physical gold. So you can see when you're telling the truth and you have a high level of expertise, you're not valuable. You're not valuable to either side. Because they can't utilize you to make money exploiting the audience. You see? That's how it works, folks. Now, if I had the right last name, I'd still get some damn exposure. You better believe that. But I happen to be high level, honest, straight shooter, unwilling to compromise and sell out, and I don't have the right last name. Therefore, I remain banned. I want you all to understand that this is a absolute 100% fact of the way it works. I never would have known this. I probably never would have believed it if someone told me, but I've lived it. The more you get to know what I've been through, my track record, the more you get to know all the people out there who are promoted and their track records, you're going to see what's going on. That's why I say, best thing you can do, besides getting to know what I've done my credibility, what's happened to me is stay away from all media. Stay away from the internet. It's just draining you. It's draining. It's consuming you. It's exploiting you mentally, emotionally, financially. You're much better off avoiding all this shit. The internet is designed as a parasitic platform to suck money out of you, to suck your soul. Okay? I'm telling you. So, why I've been overlooked. So, I'm absent from the mainstream. Reasons for this may include independent publishing. Well, I was forced to. Publishers didn't want to publish my book. Okay? I mean, why would they want to publish my book? Well, I don't know. Um, Wall Street Insider, former UBS, Bear Stearns, Ivy League graduate, master's in biological chemistry, biophysics, National Science Foundation research fellow, right? I mean, come on. Meanwhile, Peter Schiff, what's he got? Undergraduate degree, and he was also suspended by the National Futures Association in his first year in the business. So, and of course, the media never tells you that, do they? Just look on BrokerCheck. You understand what I'm saying? Folks, what's happened to me is a goddamn tragedy. It's a world tragedy. The world, because the world could have avoided misery, and many people could have made a lot of money. And today, it's the same thing. Today, it's the same. You're getting horse shit out there. Why do you think the rich, the top guys keep making money? Okay? You know, they play games. Right now, some people think they're making money. Wait until the fucking bubble blows up. Wait until the fucking collapse happens. This is going to be people that never come back in the market ever. They'll be so devastated. You're going to see a .com type of collapse at some point. I don't know when. It's impossible to know something like that, at least right now. But you can smell it when it starts to come. We got into something a little bit early phase back in 2021. If we had continued that for another, I mean, I actually predicted that the collapse in 2022 in advance, based upon in 2020, I wrote a report saying this: we're in a bubble, early stage, stay in the market. It's going to go a lot higher. It's got about another year and a half to 2 years. Okay, and it's exactly what happened. But if we had continued beyond 2022, say beyond 2023, 2020, you would have seen a .com style blowout, the likes of which nobody could even imagine. But we had a significant correction, you see. So it can keep this period going as long as we have these types of blowouts, small blowouts every few years. But if we don't have it for an extended period, you're going to see that period come. There's no doubt about it. When you see the types of shit going on out there, all these guys who think they're fucking investment geniuses and all these idiots following these fake investment gurus on ScamTube and all this bullshit, you know something's going to come. I mean, it guaranteed. I don't know when, but guaranteed. And you're going to see generational devastation when it comes. It's what you saw in the .com. Generational devastation. You'll see it. Not sure when, but you'll see it. So, anti-establishment stance. He was critical of both Wall Street and alternative media figures, accusing many of opportunistic or incompetent. So this is, the figures was after I was banned. Okay, that's not valid. Refusal to monetize fear. That's correct. Unlike some contemporaries, he didn't sell gold, newsletters, or doomsday portfolios. Ignored by media gatekeepers, despite efforts including SEC complaints about banks like WAMU, his insights were never platformed by CNBC, Bloomberg, or major financial outlets. Okay, and of course, as many of you know, the Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission, which was the kangaroo court that was set up to supposedly investigate the causes of the 2008 financial crisis as a means by which to prevent future crises. Uh, I was contacted by the head investigator, the lead investigator, Chris Seifer. Notice the name, Seffer. We spoke on the phone. He was so excited to talk to me. He was so thrilled and so anxious to find out how I actually predicted everything. And telling me, can you come to Washington? That conversation was followed up with some minion guy that he handed me over to, who we had some conversations on the phone, and I have the emails, by the way, and I've talked about this. Basically, the FCIC cut all ties with me. They ended up not inviting me to testify before Congress at the committee once they heard my answers to their questions, once they heard the answer to why this crisis happened. And I told them the truth. I told them that you got this mafia that you should be aware of. Everybody knows about it on Wall Street that gets away with all types of fraud all the time. They act with complete impunity. That's what they did during this period. And take a look. There's no investigations. Why do you think it's going to happen again? They didn't want that. You see, because when you testify before Congress, it becomes public record. They didn't want the world to know this, because this was a period, understand, when Occupy Wall Street was being launched. You had massive protests throughout the country that extended beyond throughout the world, right? The last thing they wanted was a top expert who predicted everything to call out the crooks. You understand? And that's what happened. People don't know this. I mean, this story alone is worth is a movie, right? That is to say, if in fact there would be a movie that truly would expose everything, that doesn't happen, because guess who runs Hollywood? The same crew that runs all these things, that's run everything into the fucking ground. That's the truth. That's the reality, which I did not know 20 years ago and before. Final verdict. Mike Stathis, one of the only people who not only predicted the 2008 crisis in extraordinary detail, but also explained why it would happen and how investors could protect themselves. His warnings were early, specific, and actionable. Qualities that most of the more famous forecasters lacked. You mean all. It's time for a serious re-examination of how history credits the few who truly saw the crisis coming. If financial media and academia are honest, Mike Stathis belongs at the top of that list. You got it, folks? You saw that. You can do the same analysis yourself, just like what I did. You see that? This is the travesty, folks. This is what we're talking about here. This is why people are going to continue to get fucked. You see, here's what happens. When people pressure the media, when they pressure these platforms with the truth, they're forced to do something. If they're not pressured, they're not going to do anything. That's what being banned does. There's not enough people out there who are going to go and pressure them. I mean, there it is, folks. There you see it for yourself. Okay? Anybody who doesn't credit me with at least a major predictor. I mean, you see there. Chat GPT says I'm the top guy. And I haven't even given it all the material. If I give it all the material, you're going to see it's going to probably conclude I'm the top guy. In fact, it's already concluded this is the best book, the most relevant investment book ever written. Okay? That analysis is coming out, I think, tomorrow. It's already been done. Anyone who doesn't put me there at the top of that list, the financial crisis predictor expert, is not credible. They're not credible. That's fact. You see it here. You see that? You see it right there. Folks, this is my early work. This is when I'm a fucking a kid. You understand? This is my early work. This is minor compared to what I've done since that time. Okay? I'm 10 times better. 5 times better at least. Probably 10 times better. Okay? Think about that. And the issue is, the problem is that this is so high level that very few people even have a fucking clue. Very few people even have the ability to even understand that I'm the big swinging dick. They know only what they're told. They accept, they believe what they're told. If the media tells them that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction 1,000 times over, like it did in 2001 and 2, then people believe it. You understand? If the media tells them that Iran has enriched uranium and it's going to blow up everybody, people believe it. You understand? Always ask for the evidence. Show me the fucking beef, like Wendy's, the Wendy's commercial 30 fucking years ago. Where's the beef? Where's the fucking beef? Okay? And the second thing is, always ask the question, how are you qualified to be speaking on this topic on an open global platform? Okay. You're at the coffee shop with your friend, you can talk about it. Okay. When you're on a global platform, if you're not qualified to talk about something, shut your fucking mouth. That's what I have to say. Because you know what? When I was young, thank God they didn't have the internet. If they did, they had the internet. But when I was young, I'd probably would be pretty fucking stupid today. But when I was young, and I flapped my mouth, thinking I knew something, I was scolded and humiliated. Today, that doesn't happen. Today, you got these fucking kids. Well, I'm democratizing my thoughts. I can speak. You can't say I can't speak, right? This is the problem. And nobody calls out these fucking idiots. No one does this except me. You say something fucking stupid and you understand who you're talking to. If you're talking in my realm, my expertise, I'm going to slap you fucking down. I'll slap you down. You understand? Because it's disrespectful. When I go to an expert on atomic physics, something I'm not an expert in, I sit down and I shut up and I ask questions and I take notes and I learn. I don't pretend like I know more than that person, that expert, just because I've got access to Google. That's what a brainless idiot does. Understand when you are in the presence of a world authority and act accordingly. The problem is that it's very rare that people come in the presence of a world authority. What you have today, because of the internet, is everyone's fucking yapping. Blah, 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 and they're all fucking idiots. Okay? If you come across, and it's very rare that you know, where are you going to come across an expert? You're not going to come across a real expert on any of these platforms that have a lot of followers. Unless they're like trying to swindle you, like pitch some fucking bullshit. Which real experts aren't really into that. I mean, a true expert's not is going to be dedicated to their area of expertise. They're not going to be concerned with selling something. Okay. When you come across a real expert, the worst thing you can do to show the world that you're a fucking idiot is to think that you can challenge an expert when you don't have the basis, the credibility, the background, the understanding. You're just showing how fucking ignorant you are. You know, one final thing, let me just mention. I've talked about this before. I left a comment about 6 months ago or so on one of this video I saw Stephen King, right? One of the guys, he's convinced he predicted the financial crisis. I think he's even convinced that he predicted with the most accuracy. From what I've seen, he did not predict it or even come close. So I think he made a video. I think it was called don't study economics. He's a guy he's an economist who basically says the economics establishment's full of shit, which I agree with. I'm not so sure his approach is any better. I can't say either way, but I certainly don't think highly of economists, generally speaking. Um, that's just understatement. But anyway, I wrote in the comments section something about, well, I'd never studied economics and it served me pretty well having predicted the 2008 financial crisis. Something like that. And something like maybe I was banned or whatever. And he said, oh, shoot me an email. So he asked me to shoot him an email, shot him an email. And I said, take a look. I've been banned. He feels that he's been banned. He wasn't banned. Steve Keen, he's of the right tribe. Did he get as much coverage as he thinks he should have gotten? No, he thinks he should have gotten a lot more. But he got plenty of coverage. I got zero. Okay, he even got on, Lex Friedman. Like, why would Lex Friedman interview him? And Joe Rogan? What? Why? Well, you understand who they interview, right? You understand. If they're related to them, okay. But anyway, my point is that so he's supposed to go over the materials I gave him because I said, look, Steve, I'll give you $50,000 if you can prove that you predicted the financial crisis with more accuracy than me. I claim that I predicted it with the most accuracy. This is before I even checked AI. I've known this ever since I wrote the book and saw everything materialize. I knew that nobody came close to me. So, point is that it's like, oh, I'm writing this book, I'm doing this. He's delayed it like 3 times now. And most recently, I contacted him. He was supposed to get to it in January. So he delayed it like 3 times. I gave him plenty of time. And now it's, oh, well, maybe August. I believe that he realizes, okay? And you see, he realizes he can't even come close. And, what I really wanted to discuss, because I know that I'm the top guy. What I wanted to discuss with him is, hey, Steve, why do you think I've been banned? Nobody will cover me. And you see how I predicted it. He doesn't want to go down that pathway. You understand? You might want to go to his channel and write some comment about that. Say, hey, Steve, Mike's waiting. What's going on? He's got the best track record. AI has continuously confirmed that. Let's go. Why don't you guys debate it out? I said, look, let's debate anytime you want. Let's go. I mean, he's been cordial, nice. I don't have any problem with him at all. No problem. And, his ego wasn't so bloated that he wouldn't get back to me. I mean, if I had messaged, one of these other economists, they wouldn't have said anything. So, I'm willing to have an open, respectful discourse with him if he wants to. But maybe somebody wants to push him a little bit. Be nice, be interesting. We can have a nice discussion. You see, but eventually we're going to talk about why I was banned. And we're going to talk about who gets promoted. I don't think he wants to have that discussion. Okay? That discussion needs to be held. It's very important because it not just impacts finance, economics, investments, business. You see where it goes today. We're talking about potential world war. We're talking about a rogue nation that's murdering innocent people. And the problem behind that is, of course, America stands by this rogue nation because the Washington officials are all bought off with the crime proceeds of this group. The criminal proceeds. It's criminal proceeds, right? Wall Street, media. That's the topic of discussion we need to have. You see, my understanding is so comprehensive, is so damning. I wouldn't have even had this aspect if I wasn't banned. Wouldn't have had it. But now I see the whole fucking system. I see how everything works. When you understand all these things, how these guys, take a look at all the billionaires. What percentage of the billionaires are Wall Street guys? Are fund managers? It's a pretty high percentage. And then when you understand, it's not because they're great investors. That's a rare case. It's because they're getting the money, the assets under management. How are they getting that? Well, they have friends that hand it to them because they're getting pension money to manage. Who do you think is in charge of the pensions? State, local, federal, private. You think I don't know? That's one aspect. Then you look at the whole compensation structure, how they're benchmarking these funds. It's a complete scam. It's a complete fraud. Not to mention, then you got other guys just printing money, extracting money from all investors, buying order flow like Ken Griffin, complete fucking criminal. Okay? And then you got other guys, the Robin Hood fucking scammer. He's in that tribe as well with his little scam portal. You understand, folks? Show me a billionaire that makes money honestly, that made their money honestly. Not as a parasite, not as a scammer. Show me one. Show me one. You're not going to find a single example. Okay? But they take that money that they make illegally, dishonestly, unfairly, using the advantages of either their very favorable financing terms, which they can utilize to put their competition out of business, or their connections through the regulators. You know who all the regulators are? The watchdogs. I mean, just take a look. You understand. Or they use their influence under knowing their buddies in high positions, insider information. The list goes on and on and on and on. Okay? The bottom line, you're talking about people with a lot of fucking money that they didn't truly earn honestly, legally, but they've got it. And they're taking that money and they're putting American lives, the United States, in jeopardy. How? Why? Because they're partnering with a rogue country that's attacking other nations. Don't be surprised at all if there's a major terrorist attack in the U.S. And you'll know why. It's because our Washington politicians have been bought out, sold out to a criminal fucking country to attack people for no reason. I know one thing's for sure, folks. This mafia fears me. They fear me so much, it makes me fucking happy. They're afraid of me. They're so fucking afraid, and they should be, because I've got the facts on my side, and I'm fucking sharp. And I'm honest, and I can't be bought off. That's what they fear the most. That's why I was completely banned from day one and remain banned. They fear two things the most. Never forget this. They fear two fucking things. Work and the truth. Work and the truth. They don't want to work. They don't work. That's why if you see the types of businesses they're involved in, it's not real work. They're parasites, and they don't want the truth. That's why they control all the media.